Getting prepared for an IT job interview. What do you need to know? Let's find out. Congratulations! You've made it to maybe your first IT job interview, or maybe you're branching out and looking for a new IT job, and you want to know what you should know. Well, in this video, we are going to cover some of those things on what you should know going into the interview. And first and foremost, let's really break down into your attitude that you should have going into this interview. You want to be confident, right? Confidence is key. Confidence is hard to get, of course, but you also don't want to be overconfident. If you are overconfident, that is going to look bad on you. So you need to balance this confidence in your ego, in the way that you speak with people. Making sure that you're confident about your answers and the way that you're talking to people, but not overconfident and where you come off cocky. You don't want to be cocky. That's not going to bode well for you at all. So, confidence. Make sure that you are very, very, on point with your answers. Try not to go too overboard on what, the questions that you're answering. Don't go too overboard on very detailed information when you get into the tech stuff. If you're getting asked, those random questions about, like, when you were in this position and, this one certain thing happened, how did you handle that? Yeah, you can go a little bit overboard there with your answer. Don't worry about that. That's fine. So the next thing is, of course, obviously this is going to be like a no-brainer, but make sure that you're calm. Calm yourself. You've already knocked the first important thing out of the way. You landed the interview, right? So obviously there was something there that they saw, that they brought you in for an interview. So just remind yourself of that and stay calm. You're there for a reason. So, just try to settle those nerves as best as you can. And there's no real pointers here. There's no big tips on, try this, try that. There's plenty of videos out there on, maintaining your calmness when you're, like either speaking in front of a room of people or something like that. Those are the kinds of things that you're going to have to put in your head when you're in an interview, because you want to make sure that you're calm. But at the same time, you don't necessarily have to worry too much about this calmness. If you're answering questions and you stutter or you stumble your words and stuff, make the effort to apologize, to say, hey, whatever, you answer a question, you stumble something, say, I apologize, I'm a little bit nervous. They'll appreciate your honesty. They'll appreciate the fact that you're saying, oh yeah, you're nervous. They know you're nervous. No, I don't think anybody goes in an interview that's not nervous. And if these people that you're interviewing with have interviewed people for a long time, if that's what they do, they know that the people they're interviewing are going to be nervous, and they're going to be a little bit jittery, and they're going to stumble their words a little bit. But don't let that set you back. Don't let the way that you're answering things and stumbling things and, your nerves kick in and hold you back in this interview. Don't focus on something that you screwed up on. Don't focus on the fact that you stumbled your words or whatever. Just get past it, blow past it, not a big deal. Move on. They see this all the time. It's not a big deal. No big deal. Keep going, right? So majority of the time when you're in these interviews, you're not going to be asked a lot of technical questions, and that's kind of the nature of the game here. They are going to ask you the typical standard questions, and I'll try to provide a link to some of those in the comments or in the description below here. But it's, describe a time when you needed your team to help you, or what happened when, you caught somebody at work, doing something they weren't supposed to. Did you go to your manager or not? There's plenty of stuff on the internet that you can research on the ways to answer these questions. Obviously, you're going to want to give them an honest answer, and you're going to give them the answer that they want to hear. And you can definitely find out what those answers are, and maybe that'll just help you understand, exactly what somebody is looking for in a business. But onto the technical side of things, it really depends on the type of technical job that you are interviewing for, right? If you are interviewing for maybe some type of web development job, they're going to ask you, like, oh, how do you do like a PHP include on, this web page or whatever, right? I mean, that's a pretty basic one. I know how to do that. I'm not a web developer, but you'll answer that. Basic stuff like that. You'll answer like maybe some CSS questions or whatever. more detailed programming. You'll probably get asked some basic stuff, and they'll throw in a few harder ones. And just because you don't know the answer to that doesn't mean that they're going to look past you, because these people don't expect you to know everything, right? And when you get into a job, they're going to teach you the way that they do things, and they're going to teach you some of these things. That's part of getting into any job, really. Any job is a learning experience where you should be learning while you're at this job. So, if they're asking you technical questions, if you're interviewing for a help desk job or whatever, and they ask you, this is like one of my favorite ones, for instance. And this question actually helped me get a job. And you're gonna be like, "What? Okay, let's go." So this question was, and I would word this in a simple way, kind of anyway. They asked, if a user comes to you and says they can't get to the internet, what would you do, right? So I asked a couple questions, right? I was like, well, are they on a desktop or a laptop, right? Standard question. And if they're on a laptop, and the very first thing I said when they told me that it was a laptop was, the first thing that I would check is the wireless switch. And that's exactly what they were looking for. These people that interviewed me literally asked this same very question to 50 different people. And there's definitely complex answers that you could give to, these people you're interviewing with on, check the IP. Is it getting an IP? Is it getting DHCP? Check the switch. Is it connected to the switch? Can you see it on the switch? There's so many different ways that you can really answer that question, and different things that you can look for. But they're looking for, basically, this is going to be the simplest thing that you can check. This is going to be the quickest thing that you can check. And if you've ever worked on laptops before at all, ever, and they're not getting internet connectivity, the very first thing that you're always going to want to check is that wireless switch, because I promise you, 90% of the time, it's the dang wireless switch. That's the way it is. So, these people aren't always looking for the most complex answers. They're looking for an answer that's going to give them the quickest solution sometimes, right? And a lot of times, they're going to want to see your thought process. So you can speak out loud your thought process. Like, first thing I would definitely check, if it wasn't the wireless switches, is it getting, an IP address? Can I, release the IP address and pick up a new one? Is that going to get me connected again? Am I not authenticated, on the domain or anything like that? You're going to log off, you're going to restart. There's all these different things that you can just kind of verbalize to these people you're interviewing with, just so they can see your thought process. And I promise you that will help you in just about any interview, is just kind of verbalizing your thought process on how you would solve an issue, right? And a lot of times, you can verbalize what you're going to do, but already know from the get-go what your answer is going to be. But just verbalize a couple different scenarios out loud, just so they can see that, you can manage, different ways of handling an issue, right? So that's one thing that you can definitely look for when you're getting asked these, technical questions. So really, these are just, a few things that I think you should be aware of going into an IT job interview. Like I've already went over the calmness, the cockiness, the question portion of it. Interviewing is always a game in some ways, right? And it's kind of weird for me to say that, but you're going to go in an interview, you think you're going to nail it. And I've done this plenty of times. I'm like, oh man, I nailed that interview. I'm definitely getting that job. I didn't get the job. That doesn't mean that you didn't interview well. That does not mean that, you were not qualified for that job. You cannot get discouraged. Think of interviewing as a game, because you are going to do it sometimes over and over and over and over again. You're going to do it plenty of times before you actually do nail it. And, unfortunately, in this world, there's people out there better than you. There's people out there better than me. And that's a reality that you need to accept. And it's not a big deal. You're totally qualified. You're a totally awesome person. You are, great with IT. You're great with people and stuff like that. But, maybe there's somebody that, has been doing it longer than you, or, whatever. For whatever reason. It doesn't even matter. Just know that for each interview that you do, that's a learning experience. And when you call, and believe me, you should call these people back. If you don't hear back from them in like a week, call them and just check on the status. Some people don't like that, but some people do. They like that persistence. They like to know that, yeah, you're definitely interested in that job. So call these people back, find out what the status is after this interview. And, if you get turned down for that job, if you're speaking to, whether it's the HR person or the IT person that you interviewed with, ask them why. And that puts them on the spot, but you don't care because you didn't get the job. You don't want to really, be a jerk about it. Don't be an ass about it in any way. Just say, why was I not selected for this position? And a lot of times they'll tell you why. They'll say, we felt that you weren't as qualified as the person that we did select. And, that's fine. But, what you're looking for here is maybe they'll give you some type of answer as to why, you didn't get hired. And you can use that for your future interviews. Use that for you to, kind of reprocess in your mind how you're going to go into an interview. Never go into an interview thinking that you got the job. No problem. Go into an interview, do your best, be calm, and, like I said, it's going to be a process. You might do it 1,000,000 times before you get the actual job that you want. But use each of your interviews as a learning experience and move on from it. Don't get discouraged. Never get discouraged when you're interviewing, especially if you're just starting out, because when you're just starting out, you have hundreds of people who are definitely more qualified than you, and that's fine. That's not a big deal. You will come across something that you're qualified for and that you can jump into. Sometimes you have to start out a little bit further back than you'd like to, but there's in IT, there's always room for advancement. And one thing that I can tell you, the turnover rate, and that's not because of jobs, the turnover rate, it's because of the people. You advance quickly in IT. You move on quickly. You can start out at the bottom on the job. You can start out very low on the totem pole. You work your way up maybe in this company a little bit. But the next job that you go to, you are going to get something a little bit better, right? That's the way that this works. And you have this experience in these different jobs where you take it with you and you just advance and advance. You start out as a level 1 help desk person, and then you move to like level 2, and there's not really too much level 3, but maybe you move to like a senior help desk position, and then like a system administrator, and maybe you go on to a director. Who knows what you do? It's a long process. It's a great process. Working in IT is phenomenal. If it's something that you really want to do, you're going to do great at it. If you're passionate about it, we've talked about this in plenty of videos, passion is key. But anyway, now we're going off point a little bit. These are some of the things that I think that you should just know about going into an IT job interview. If you have questions, comments, concerns, hit me up in the comments below, and I'm more than happy to get back with you. And of course, this is like a part 1 of who knows how many on IT interview job questions. If you guys have more questions for me, I'll do another video on maybe some other things that you should know. But this is it for this video. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, greatly appreciated. Take care.